The real-life proof that being the beacon of hope for those who need it the most and being profitable at the same time is the very existence of Fair Employment Agency. And we'll talk about it in the next 20 minutes. Respected jury, these are Zoran, Lazar, Milica, and myself, Sergey, and we are here to help shape the future of Fair Employment Agency and help it achieve its vision of changing the industry's dark standards. When we are talking about FEA and the employment agency industry, we were faced with a challenge to change the industry malpractices while also creating additional revenue channels in order to ensure a safe and reliable growth of our vision. In order to achieve this, we have devised two strategies, Fair Set and Fair Act. In the next 4 years, we aim to help moreover than 8,600 migrant workers and achieve a compound annual growth rate of over 20%. When we dive deeper into the industry, it is connecting those who want a job with those who need a job, with a hefty price coming in between the lines. And this industry is worth more than the food and beverage and construction industries combined. Around 1,500 of these agencies are operating in Hong Kong with a pool of 400,000 migrant workers. Here we can see that it's a highly fragmented market. To add on to that, 70% out of these agencies in Hong Kong engaged in illegal behavior. With the cross-border nature of the industry, different regulation, and lack of enforcement jurisdiction, the industry is definitely in murky waters and in dire need for change. What Fair Employment Agency offers different from the other agency is that we have no worker placement fees, we have transparent price structure, and we provide clear benefits to employees and employers, which is driven by the quality of our service. Our competitive advantage is clear. Like we mentioned before, a lot of these workers are currently coming into Hong Kong. Next slide, please. In the next 20 years, the number of these workers is expected to rise to about 200,000, and about 8,000 new migrant workers coming every year into Hong Kong. Even though the FEA is the biggest employment agency in Hong Kong, it currently takes over 1.25% share of the market with its maximum capacity of operations. In next 4 years of operating, we helped, in the past 4 years of operating, we have helped over 5,000 migrant workers and helped them save $6.5 million in recruitment debt. The two strategies we have devised are Fair Set and Fair Act. Let's talk about our first social impact strategy, Fair Set. The migrant workers FEA is trying to help are faced with a difficult time as they are treated as slaves, working more than 15 hours a day, having their passports taken as collateral for a loan, or worse, having them thrown into sexual, verbal, physical abuse. To add on to that, the dark side of the industry is clear. 70% of worker employment agencies are operating illegally, and most of them are taking full advantage of people through debt bondage, charging them 20 times the legal limit, and to make the matters worse, pass the malpractice to their employers. FEA wants to be the beacon of hope for these workers and set a standard for these companies and the industry itself.
Thank you, Sager. I'll now dig deeper into our first strategy, Fair Act. So as Sergey pointed out, we see that there are very specific things that are strengths of the FEA. However, we see that there are three pillars of change that FEA needs to improve in order to set a solid structure and ensure responsible and sustainable growth. At the first point, it needs to secure certain payments. That means that those payments have to be healthy with no debt loans in its structure. It needs to provide even higher transparency. That means that we need to have employees getting the money and employees getting that money in amount and time in which was agreed. And the third and last, alignment with regulation, meaning that they will secure, there will be no place for third-party fees. So what will we actually do? We will propose that FEA needs to restructure payment model in order to increase certainty and transparency of the payments. How does it do it? it collaborates with Chinese banks. Those Chinese banks will act as a mediator in the money transfer process in between employer and employee. And why are we doing this? We are setting the standard and becoming industry benchmark, and we're creating model which will be replicable into other agencies in the same business into different industries. So if we look at the current FEA's current ecosystem and the current employee process, we are pointing out that FEAs is acting only as a mediator and connection between employee and employer. So we have an employee on the left-hand side of the slide who contacts the FEA. Then FEA matches that employee with the employer. And then the all other complication and the situation is happening in between employee and employer. This whole transaction is happening over there. And this is leaving a lot of space for the violation of the agreed payments. Therefore, we are proposing that the FEA needs to have a new ecosystem in which we're adding banks. Those banks will now act as a mediator and allow FEA to have supervision over the employee's account. So when the employee contacts FEA, we have a bank who is opening an account for employee. And therefore, in that moment, FEA not has the whole control over the account, because we don't want them to regulate what's happening with the money. We just wanted to supervise and see if those payments are on time and the amount needed. This will lead to FEA receiving long-term and short-term impact. In the short-term impact, it's very specific that we are satisfying those three pillars of change, which are certain payments, transparency, and alignment regulation. But if we look at the long-term side, we see that this way we will provide huge base of qualified employees on one side and huge base of qualified employers on the other side who have not been violating this agreement. And this way we are providing replicable business model which we can just transfer to other industries or agencies, and we're increasing demand for services. In order to set this strategy going, we need a marketing strategy. However, we have two stakeholders into this marketing strategy. On one side, we have employees and we have employers. When we talk about employees, all of them are located in Vietnam and Indonesia mostly, and their needs are just reliable employers and good working conditions. Therefore, we're passing the main message. We're passing the message that there are no placement fees, and we're promoting this transparent business. We're doing this throughout in online, Facebook and Twitter social media, due to the fact that we came this throughout our research, and these are the most used platform in these countries. And on the other side, we have employer. Employer is looking for a skillful employee and ethical and legal agencies. So this is what message we will pass to him about our ethical and legal business. And they are located in Hong Kong. Therefore, we'll be using online channels such as YouTube, WeChat, and Facebook due to their usage in Hong Kong. And on the other side, we will have recommendation with our current employers. Therefore, we will have a recommendation throughout a word of mouth. I'll pass it off to my colleague to explain our next strategy.
Thank you, Zorna. Next in line is our second strategy, whose primary focus is on our additional revenue stream. I am presenting you Fair Act strategy, with which FEA will help other agencies to restructure their out-of-date business. First of all, we did a strategic alternative analysis. We compared the three offered strategies: organic growth, franchising model, and expanding Philippine business, according to the following criteria. We set availability to change industry ethics standards as most important and crucial criteria, because the primary goal of FEA is to set high standards of ethical business. And the two others were scope of control, and as the second most important for FEA, and cost of implementation in the end. The conclusion of this analysis is that the first alternative, organic growth in Hong Kong, is the best option. After that, we analyzed two possible options for organic growth: creating Fair Hub for providing education to existing agencies and expanding business offered to other sectors. Obviously, we picked the first one, Fair Hub, because we think that training and education of existing agencies has a much greater social impact on whole industry. Now I will explain what Fair Hub is. So FEA should provide education and training services to existing agency. And why is that? Because with adding new sector, Fair Hub, FEA will clear path towards necessary systematic change. Fair Hub will provide educational trainings for existing agency to help them restructure their out-of-date business model. In Fair Hub, through 2 weeks of trainings, agencies could learn how to apply FEA's business model. Also, they will get educational materials that they could use afterwards. And most important, agency could earn Fair certificate, a certificate that will serve as a proof of completed training and a way of transparent business that it's increasingly required by workers and employers also. For the first stage of this strategy, FEA should target those legal agencies because they are better fit than 70% of those that are engaged in some illegal actions. As the CEO, Scott Stiles, stated, existing agencies would be key players in improving the market, and that the clearest path to systematic change was to set a positive example for how the market should operate. So we wanted to set an even better example and change those agencies. On the left side of this slide, you can see the current structure of the FEA. With our Fair Set strategy, we are adding a completely new sector to the company that will deal with collecting and educating existing agencies. So this is how future company structure will look like with our Fair Hub. And because it is new sector in company, FEA will need some additional resources for this step. First of all, company will need additional workforce for educating agencies. Then FEA will need some space for this hub also. Of course, FEA needs certification program registration, and last but not the least, training session for new employees who will conduct trainings and educational programs for the agencies. At the end, this strategy, we want to show how the FEA will reach its target group, EA employment agencies. For this step, we have listed 3 possible solutions: direct marketing, which will include a visit by company representatives to agencies that have expressed, let's say, a desire to improve their business. Second one is LinkedIn campaign, which will focus on promoting the value of company and its transparent operations. Also, special offers will be sent by LinkedIn, and that type of offers are increasingly common in nowadays business world. And by no means we must forget the word of mouth way of marketing. FEA should work to maintain a high level of satisfaction, both employees and employers, in order for this type of marketing to be on the highest possible level. Now I will leave it to Milica.
Thank you, Lazar. So for complete analysis of our solutions, we identified main risks. We mapped them out by impact on solution and possibility for it to happen. So we have 3 risks. First is that employees do not allow account access, and we are mitigating it with additional education in our new center, Fair Hub. Second risk is that our second strategy, Fair Act, is demand of companies hire that we can cover with 3 new employers. Mitigation plan is to first calculate the cost of additional employment, then of course teach new employers, and finally employ them too. Third one is that we can be perceived wrong among general public because we require bank access. We are mitigating it with additional marketing activities that will show why this access is a win-win situation. As we have two strategies, we have two streams of new customers. On one hand, we have new migration workers that we can reach because of transparent way of payment. According to case material, there is 8,000 new potential employees and 400,000 current employees. We expect 10% of new employees and 1% to change its current agency. That is equivalent to 1,200 new employees every year. On the other hand, we have companies that we are reaching throughout our second strategy, Fair Act. As we mentioned, we plan to hire 3 people as FEA employers that are going to conduct the education. First priority is to gain companies from pool of companies that currently operates on legal way. By the end of 2025, we will have 60 companies with our certification about transparent payment model. Our revenue is expected to grow with CAGR 20% 2021-2025. This growth is conditioned by 2 revenue streams. One is from new migrant workers, and average fee that employer is paying for them is $1,300. Other revenue stream is for companies that we are going to reach with our Fair Educational Hub. The price we are charging for them for 2 weeks training course, 8 hours per week, is $10,000. Main cost drivers for our strategies are bank commission fees that are $15 per account, new employers of FEA for Fair Educational Hub. Then we have costs for offices and preparation of material for certification. Also, we have additional marketing costs for our marketing campaign. Thank you so much for your attention. We are ready for Q&A.
Okay, thank you very much to University of Belgrade. So now it's time for the Q&A session. We will set the timer to 15 minutes. Okay, so the 15-minute countdown starts now. Let's hear the first question, please.
Hi there, this is Peggy Lee. Going back to your point around, the first solution on FairSet, you mentioned about, having a bank being a, mediator. I understand the reason and how and what you want to drive for, but then can you articulate a bit more in terms of why would a bank would be willing to do or offer such service, or being agree in terms of being a mediator in between and sharing the data with FEA?
Thank you very much for your question. Firstly, we want to open these temporary bank accounts for our migrant workers, as Zorana mentioned in her introduction of this strategy. But also, we want FEA to have the insert or the information about the financial activities passing between employee and the employer. To answer your question, why bank would be willing to come into our deal like this? Firstly, the first reason is because they would have the access to the financial activities coming through and to learn about maybe the financial activities of employees and migrant workers, and maybe offer to them some future deals in their own offerings. And the second deal is a transaction fee that would be coming between employers and employees. I hope I answered your question.
Thanks.
Hi. Well, first, I'd like to thank you for your presentation and your thoughts around FEA. And thanks for sharing your thoughts with us. So just perhaps going deeper into Peggy's question on the bank's willingness to participate in this arrangement. Can you elaborate a little bit more on the potential risks that an arrangement where you're granting FEA access to the account could raise to FEA and also to the other participants, being the employer and the employee?
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for your comments and your question. We do believe that there is a risk, as always in the business, there is a risk. However, we've researched a lot and realized that there have been a lot of foreign immigrants that are opening bank accounts over there due to the fact that they have approval to work over there. They will be able to just open an account. Therefore, this for one just regular bank means that they're just operating regularly. So if we give them a fee, they would be willing to operate with us. We've researched some other agencies and realized that they are not in this field, but the other fields, and we realized that they are definitely operating with banks, and they have no any other concern with that.
If I may add, FEA will be just like a mediator. FEA will have only insight, not like whole access to this bank account.
Okay, but so just to clarify, what is the intention? Is to validate that the employer is paying the employee, and if so, aren't we then saying that FEA would have additional cost? I mean, would there need to be additional employees to how are they going to do this verification? You're talking about thousands of employees getting paid every month. So how would they accomplish this?
Well, FEA is already very good in using it in technology. So therefore, there will be the system that already exists, and the company will just use it to verify. And the system throughout the time will learn when this specific employee or employee is a qualified. We added that as our long-term impact, that after a period of time, we will have a pool of those employees and employers that will know if they are qualified or not based on that account.
Yeah, to add on to Zorana's answer, our vision for this strategy is for this process to be fully automated. So for sure, in some future, we want to integrate some AI technology in terms of learning about which employers are best and which employees are best, to create some profiles and put them together, and of course to fully inspect these transactions and flag the transactions which are not happening at the right time, at the right frequency, and at the right amount. So yes, this is the vision for our strategy, for this fair fit strategy.
Just to add to financial part of the question, we are of course calculated the additional cost that we have for bank. It's just bank commission fee, and it is $15 per account every month. So we calculated that into our revenue and profit margins.
Okay.
I still have a questions on this bank models. So the question is, why you think FEA's model is not good enough? I just want to I hear you mention some of them, but can you elaborate more? If the FEA, the bank is the name opened under FEA, what's wrong with that?
I'm trying to transfer on the previous slide. Okay, so as you can see on this slide, we see that the whole transaction of the money is happening between employee and employer. So FEA has no access on what's happening over there. Even though if they have those agreements signed, that doesn't mean that they cannot violate it. So there have been some huge violations, and they're just gradually increasing into something more. So even though if they agree, that doesn't mean that they will transfer that money. And this is the only way that FEA can supervise that whole process and then affect the employers, or let's say disqualify them from the process or remove those employers. That's what's not good.
FEA is considered in Hong Kong as the best fair employment agency there is. But also, if Zorana can go back to the leverage slides, we analyzed that in order to make a change that fair employment agency wants to make, the pillar slide, please.
Okay, sorry.
we have analyzed that the money is a big part of this industry because our migrant workers are in desperate need of money, and employers are also looking to make to give as less money as they can to get a good service. So we want to minimize the way of utilizing or making advantage of their situation by having full insight into the financial aspect of this industry or this transaction that is happening over to us. We don't say that this model that FEA currently operates is bad. We just want to improve it even more and say that or message to our employers and to our employees that they will get 100% sure, 100% they will get their money on time, in the right amount, in the right frequency, and we will be the mediators of that. And we will know that this will happen. Why? Because in the long term, we will learn about which employers are good and which employees are good, and make the connection between the two of them. So we want to be like the industry benchmark for good business, and we want to be. Yeah. Okay.
I'm sorry, but I just must add on it. If we use FEA's model as it is right now, it is not replicable to all other agencies, because then they can violate it. And this way, we are ensuring that when we reply that model and in the other agencies, they cannot violate it, because we have bank included and they have the moment of supervision.
Can you show that mitigate risk and the cost driver, that slide? Okay. Have you think about it? Your model, the new model, actually increase the cost of the FEA?
Yes, thank you for that question. First, we have the bank commission fee that we calculated. As I said, it's $50 per account. So every new employer, we calculated the again, that bank commission fee, and for the fees that we have for additional marketing that we mentioned in the risk slide, because if the other like stakeholders in this process doesn't verify the need for the bank access, we are going to invest more money in marketing to have them understand why this is a win-win situation for both sides of the transfer of money. So we calculated that, and we know it is a fee for the FEA, because it is paid from the money that we are getting from the employers for employees. But we think that this is a need for this model to be replicable. I'm sorry, for the next for other companies.
In the financial industry world, if you increase the sum by this model, you ask FTE to access the bank account. So basically, increase their roles and responsibility, and might increase the fiduciary duties. Have you think about that? Whether FEA willing to do that, to take on additional roles, responsibility, additional fiduciary duties?
Yes, we do believe that FEA will take that risk, because it is setting an industry benchmark. They're aiming to change disrupt this industry as a whole. And on the other side, we have those employers who are willing to pay, because all of them are willing to pay to get those employees who are good and who will then with whose force they'll be satisfied. So we think that on the both sides, we are satisfying these needs.
And for FEA, revenue is not in the first spot. They are non-profitable organization, and changing whole industry is their ultimate goal. So the revenue is in the second place.
Can I just, Elaine, can I go ahead and ask?
Sure.
Thanks. I guess on a broader topic, how with the strategies that you've put forward for FEA, what's your thoughts around another company that's coming in and copying something very similar? What's the differentiation in terms of how they're able to upkeep this? You know, and where, you know, no other firm can copy. I mean, you know, what are the differentiations that you see?
Well, definitely what we have on our side, let's say like that, is our reputation in Hong Kong as the best employer agency. No other company can replicate our approach to customers. They can replicate maybe our business model, and we in some point we actually want them to replicate our business model, because we want to create an ecosystem of companies that is actually helping these migrant workers coming into Hong Kong. But the due diligence that we do in approaching our migrant workers and approaching our employers, also creating a customer base of both employees over time and employers, is something that no company can replicate, even if they wanted to. So our goal, as our CEO stated, is that they want to change the industry practice. So in this way, and the way we propose our two strategies, we actually do both. We change the industry over time. This is something which is a long-term goal. And also we create a new revenue stream for us in order to fuel this vision for the FEA. So yeah, this is something that we think is almost certain. And our approach to our customers is definitely something that we read in the case, and we deducted from our analysis as our main, let's say, competitive advantage.
Okay, thanks. Caroline, I think we're out of time.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you.
Thank you.
This.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.